leaves are golden, the air is crisp, and there's just something magical about this time of year. But while autumn feels like an invitation to pause, for me it's also the perfect season to build something new. Something I wanted for a while, and that's exactly what I want to share with you today. I've been sitting on this domain I bought ages ago. Probably like you, I sometimes buy domains with all these big ideas, but then, well, I never use them. They just pile up sitting there reminding me of plans I never started. So here's the idea. A chat-based resume builder, so something like ChatGPT, but instead of just talking about stuff, at the end of it, you will have a tailored resume. That's at least the goal for the next 3 days. So the first thing I did was to hop onto ChatGPT to get some help generating a basic user flow. Once I had a solid direction, I used Whimsical, which, by the way, is a great tool for brainstorming and mapping out stuff like this. And they also have an AI interface where I can just drop the content from ChatGPT to auto-generate the user flow. I wanted to map out how someone would go from saying, hey, I need a resume, to actually having that polished, tailored resume in their hands at the end. And at this point I thought, how fast can I actually build the chatbot? With AI coding assistants everywhere these days, tools like V0 or Bold felt like a magic shortcut, right? So I jumped to Bold, and honestly I was so ready to have a basic version of this thing up and running in no time. But fast forward an hour and I was still stuck at the login screen. Not exactly the chat interface I had in mind. It felt like I was in a loop and not really moving forward. Even my cat decided I was hopeless at this point. And you know what? I kind of felt the same. Not gonna lie, it was a bit frustrating. So I decided it was time for a break. Because sometimes taking a step back can give you the clarity you need to move forward. Plus, let's be honest, my cat deserves some attention. So I decided to head to a park for some time off from all the screen time. There's something about being surrounded by nature, away from the buzzing notifications and endless tabs, that helps you to reset. Being here always reminds me how important it is to take a breather. It's like hitting refresh on my brain. The golden leaves, the crisp air, the quiet moments, it's where I get the sense of clarity. Sometimes I even get ideas popping into my head, even when I least expect it. It's funny how just stepping away from the problem can help you see it from a completely different perspective. These kind of breaks help me to recharge, regroup, and remind myself that it's okay to not have everything figured out right away. After all, big ideas might be born at the desk, but they grow when you give yourself space to think. Alright, time to head back and use the new clarity I got. I told myself, let's just start. Even if it's rough, even if it's basic, I wanted to build something I could actually see taking shape before I call it a day. I decided to tackle the interface myself. I had a rough idea of the components I need. A chat box, some quick actions the user can pick, and a simple input at the bottom. Nothing really fancy, just the building blocks. And here's what I had at the end of the day. It wasn't perfect, but enough for me to go to bed knowing I made progress. And sometimes that's really all you need to keep going. I'm not gonna lie, I was feeling a bit sleepy today, but the goal for today was to get the UI done. And instead of just diving headfirst into coding, I like to spend a good chunk of time researching the component I'm going to build. In this case, how do chat interfaces actually work? I looked at some familiar apps we've all used, like WhatsApp, Telegram, and of course ChatGPT. The way messages flow, how users interact with them, even the tiny details like spacing, message bubbles, and input fields. It's these little things that make the UI feel intuitive. I also checked out a few of my design resources, and of course we need a good set of colors. colors can completely change the way your interface feels. So I went over to Colors, one of my favorite tools, and picked out a color palette that felt fresh, modern and approachable. With that done, I finally had my groundwork and could start building the interface. But it also seems like my cat needed some playtime, which is a perfect excuse for me to get a break. Before we move on, I wanted to thank today's sponsor, Cloudways. I've talked a lot about why having a fast and reliable hosting platform is non-negotiable. And in my experience, Cloudways has been an absolute game changer. With their easy-to-use dashboard, blazing fast servers, and features like Cloudflare Enterprise, safe updates, and more, they make managing even complex sites simple. And the best part, they have a Black Friday and Cyber Monday deal. They are offering 40% off for 4 months. This is your chance to grab premium hosting at a fraction of the cost, but it's only available for a limited time. So if you have been thinking about upgrading your hosting or starting a new website, this is the perfect time to jump in. Use the link in my description and apply the discount code to get 40% off for the next 4 months. Wow, she actually catched it. So after a solid play session, I decided to step away from my desk and do something for my body. There's something about bouldering that just clears my mind. I think it's the mix of focus, movement, and problem solving, but in a completely different way from sitting at a desk. And it's so satisfying to physically work through challenges, the adrenaline rush you get because you are always afraid of dying and falling, and leave with a tired body. Afterward, I felt recharged and ready to dive back into building the UI. The UI started coming together, rough edges here and there, but now we got something I could actually use. A functional base to keep improving. And honestly, that's what building is all about. Small wins stacked on top of each other until the big picture starts taking shape. So for now I got most of the UI for the chat and a placeholder response from the chatbot. Nothing too crazy, but it got me one step closer to the final vision. And that was enough for me to call it a day. Alright, we have reached the last day and I'm super tired. And there's still so much work to do. So let's get straight to work. I still need to connect the back end with the front end. The good thing is I already have a resume builder, which means I can use the back end of my builder to connect it to my new front end. But still, this was kind of a new use case and I had to build new endpoints to make this work. I spent most of the day just building on the product because I wanted to get it done. After a couple of hours, I got a working prototype, but I still got bugs here and there, so time to hit the big monitor. When I'm building new things, I always use ChatGPT to write the boring stuff of my code. And finally, after another few hours of solid work, I got a working MVP. So the chatbot will ask for your resume or your LinkedIn profile, extract the information from the content, and then ask you a bunch of follow-up questions. So it will ask you a bunch of questions like, what achievements did you had in your previous job? Or what is your dream job? I wasn't able to fully build the entire product because for that we still need authentication, payment, security, and a bunch of other things. My other product will do most of the heavy lifting for the backend. It will take the information from the chat, it will use it to generate a resume and get a link back to the user with their newly custom created resume, which the user can then access via a link. So for now I will call it a day and say the MVP is ready. If you're interested to get early access to the product, let me know in the comments. I hope you liked the video. If you did, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel. That's it from my side. See you in the next one.